How's it going, everyone? My name is Reloading64 and welcome back to Buried. Now, in the end of the last episode, I explained it, but I'm just going to explain it here again. In the end of the last episode, for some reason there was a glitch or something where the game continued and didn't give me the end of chapter 4 thing. So, this is actually the beginning of chapter 5. We're now inside a large reinforced chamber of sorts, almost like the inside of a submarine. Near us is the door shut tight. Far away from us is along the back wall are all sorts of controls and monitors. It seems clear that this metal door is impenetrable, at least to them. Fairly sure that they aren't getting in. Dennis, I say. I'm sorry, Amy says, and I'm sorry for pulling you back, but you were walking into your death out there. I know, I say. That doesn't make it any easier. I couldn't quite see, but it looked like you may have had a shot. Why didn't you take it? Amy asked. I thought he would get away. Roger, Amy says. My God, I'm sorry. There's no way you could have known. Who did I think I was, trying to bring him into this wretched place, hoping to save his life? A lot of good that did. I ended up letting him die right in front of me anyways. Out of nowhere, an image of Dennis pumping his fist after winning a game of pool pops into my head. Dennis always wins, always gets away. Except for this time. It's hard for me to say, Amy says, but you're right, he's dead. But we're still alive, and we need to get out of here. How, I say, nearly mocking her. Taking it one thing at a time. We need to figure out how bad this is and how to get ourselves under control, and then, well, we're interrupted by a man's voice booming behind us. Just what in the hell do you think you're doing? The man roars. He's an older man who seems to exude power and authority, but he also looks tired and scared. I assume this is Barksdale. He walks over to us from the back of the recess of the chamber. We didn't have any choice, Amy responds. We had to. Did you override the locks on the hangar doors? Barksdale demands. Yes, I did, but we had to. Do you have any idea what you could have done? Amy doesn't answer right away. She is furious, but she is also scared and visibly exhausted. Let's stay quiet. Look, Barksdale, she says, you can berate me and lecture me all you want when this mess is over, but right now I have a wounded civilian here, and as you can see, several entities trying to get into this room. So if you could actually do something, instead of sitting on your throne and yelling at me, that would be great. I'm impressed by her guts and wonder if there is some sort of beef between the two of them. Surely working in a place like this could cause some stress and tension between people. As we wait, I notice a small peephole in the door. I go to it and look out to the things. They're still looking for a way in, but finding no success. I wonder if they can sense or somehow see me through the door. Flip on the bird. Do nothing. Something tells me if I do this, it's gonna... whatever. Count myself, but I have middle finger to one and smiled defiantly. Get a blast of high-pitched sound in response. You'd be reprimanded for speaking to me in such a way, Barksdale says to Amy. So they did see me. Reprimand me all you want. I'd like to survive this first. Cover your ears, Barksdale shouts, walking away towards the far end of the room. Stay put until you hear back from me. Thank you, Amy says with fire in her voice. She then turns to me and says, better do what the man says. Cover ears. Hands over my ears just in time to protect my hearing from a deafening blast. I can still feel my blood rushing out and wonder if this is what Dennis felt like at the beginning of his end. Before the sorrow of losing Dennis can consume me, something slaps against the wall of the room with tremendous force. I assume this is just another one of the monsters slithering along the wall, but when I turn back towards the door, I hear something surprising. More bursts of a loud explosive noise start ringing out. Looking through the peephole again, I see the core of one of the beasts explode. It vanishes in a puff of smoke and clear liquid. Looking to my left, I see Barksdale in a shooting stance at the far side of the room. He's firing through a small slit in the wall. He's using some high-powered weapon, that likes of which I've never seen. I see a slight movement as the gun kicks, accompanied by a flicker of white light. Immediately, another monster is down, its tentacles flaying around aimlessly as most of its core is torn through. I instantly feel gratitude and an immense satisfaction in knowing that they are being picked off in such a way. We need a rest. Slide down against the door and simply wait, listening to the occasional patter of what I assume their blood on the wall. I don't know how much time passes, maybe 5 seconds, maybe 5 minutes. And I don't care, it feels nice to lay down. When the firing is over, I barely even notice it. Soon after, Barksdale walks back over to our side of the room. They're all gone, Barksdale says, and I have resealed the hangar doors. How'd you kill them like that, I ask. Classified weapons that, quite frankly, you have no business being near. Amy gets to her feet and returns to the panel on the wall. Thanks. How badly is a civilian hurt, Barksdale asks Amy, as if I'm not good enough for him to speak to. A nasty cut, Amy answers. If he gets some quick attention, he'll be okay. Okay, I'll have Strickland get a med kit. Strickland survived, Amy asks, sounding cheerful. Yes, and until you and your friend showed up, I thought we were the only ones. Hang tight, she's on her way. With that said, he retreats away to the back of the room as if he can't stand to be around us. Amy approaches me and looks me over. You're in good hands. Strickland will be able to fix you up. Is she a doctor or something? Sort of. She's also a physicist. But oddly enough, she spent time as a trauma nurse in the army. Is Strickland a friend of yours, I ask? Amy chuckles. Yeah, we've known each other for a while and the only women in the sea of overachieving men. Huh. You must be glad Strickland survived. I am. We usually have lunch together, she says, and she's helped me out for a few tight spots in my career. Within a few seconds, the door behind us opens and a woman appears from back further in the chamber. She enters the room with what looks like a small suitcase. She is dressed in a very basic and drab military getup, complete with a holstered sidearm. My name is Connie Strickland, she says, getting straight to the point. I can patch you up pretty good, but it's going to hurt. I'm not honestly not caring how much it hurts. My God, I just want to get out of here to get home. Sit down and let's see if you can get your shirt off, Strickland says. I sit down slowly and start unbuttoning my shirt. She says she has to help me slip off my shoulders, but we manage. How bad is it, I ask. Bad, she said. It almost looks like a burn, but I've seen much worse. Might as well talk to Strickland, if only to distract from the pain. You're a scientist too? Rolls her eyes as she gathers up a needle and some thread. I was always into fringe science. Started in labs where these eccentric Russian scientists were being funded by the US to work on combining DNA types. So I became obsessed with perfecting human physiology while I was a trauma nurse in the army. You were a mad scientist then, I say? I get that a lot, but no, not compared to the stuff we do here. What kind of stuff? It's complicated. Masses, quantum gravity, crunching things down into their Schwarzschild radiuses. Fun stuff. Yeah, I'm a mad scientist, I say, trying to keep myself calm with dry humor. There are lots of small labs working on this same stuff, she argues. They just don't have our funding. When you guys ran in here, she says, I was horrified. Those barrels outside. Those barrels, I'm not sure if you saw them. Well, if you'd shoot them, it could have been bad. Why, I ask. Green ones are filled with an experimental fuel that is highly flammable. The yellow ones contain liquid nitrogen. What, I ask? Just laying around? Well, this area is the safest in the building, the most secure. Well, it used to be anyways. And take this, she says, handing me 4 pills, painkillers. They won't work immediately, but they'll dull the worst of what you're feeling. Are these the best idea, I ask? Won't they make me dizzy or out of sorts or something? All I get in response is an annoyed and determined look. Well, she does know her stuff. Alright, let's take the painkillers. Tries all the pills and she starts working on me. She's lying around the wound with some sort of liquid that sings like crazy in a gasp. Grin and bear it. So manly! Ready to stab me yet? Strickland asks. I'm fine, I hiss. Once as she dabs at my eyes swollen from where Marcus escaped, I grit my teeth in pain and try to catch my breath. The anticipation is the worst part. I'm relieved to find that it doesn't hurt as much as I feared. It's no picnic for sure, but compared to the fire-like pain in my wound, it's bearable. So you and Barksdale are the only survivors, Amy asks? It seems that way. Those that didn't disappear into thin air were killed by those things, Strickland says, nodding to the secured door. Yeah, the anticipation of something like that is always the worst part. Alright, let's see. No one else made it? Not that I've seen, Strickland says. If anyone else did make it, they're trapped out there with those things. I'm glad to see you. Where were you when it happened, Amy asks. I was in the micro lab on level 2. Strickland replies, Parks and O'Brien were in there with me, and they just disappeared, I guess. It looks like they were being stretched, distorted, and then there was a ball of white light and they were gone. Ball of light just annihilated everything it touched. Would it leave a perfectly round hole? I asked, the light bulb turning on in my head. We saw some of those up at the logging site. That was probably the same phenomenon, Strickland replies. Amy looks like a child afraid and asks an adult for something. Finally, she asks, where did they go? We don't know, Strickland says. It could be an infinite number of different dimensions, or even some dimensions that merge and mix together. It could also be a place that exists between dimensions. Barksdale calls it the void. Creepy. I'd call it dead. That doesn't seem pretty good. How is that possible? We don't know that just yet, Strickland says. Our understanding of space-time is evolving, especially when you start wrapping it like we have been doing. Amy nods. That point seemed to be the end of the conversation as both women fall quiet. I went through the rest of the Strickland stitching, feeling the tug on my skin, but thankfully no more flowing blood. Finally, Strickland says, you're good to go. I slide my shirt back on, aware of the thick pad of gauze that Strickland applied on my shoulder. So have you and Barksdale been able to contain all those creatures, Amy asks? Strickland appears shocked, clearly not the reaction Amy was expecting. Contain? Are you nuts? Do you not know what's happening? Amy's eyes widen in fearful confusion. What do you mean? What's happening other than the initial experiment failure? The anomalies are becoming more numerous and further from the source, Strickland says. The casual humor in her voice is now gone. So it's happening outside now? From the location of the original experiment, she says. The experiment caused the first doorway to open, but it set off a chain reaction. They are gaining momentum along geodesic emanating from the facility. It's these pockets of exotic matter and negative energy that are letting loose those things in. What the hell does that mean, I ask? It means, Amy chimes in, that those doorways and monsters are starting to appear all over the facility, maybe even the surface. Not yet, luckily, Strickland says, but the doorway will start appearing on the surface, and it won't stop there. The anomaly's reach could extend infinitely, as far as we know. Those entities will appear on the surface on other states, other countries. Holy shit, I say. You mean the world is going to be overrun? The horror of the past few hours has made me ready to believe anything, but this is almost too much. Fortunately, yes, Strickland says. My God, Amy says, stepping away. Isn't there anything we can do? Is a last resort, Strickland says, her eyes darting over to Barksdale at the back of the room. There's an emergency failsafe switch. What? Amy says, I never heard of that. Where? You weren't cleared for it, Strickland replies. And that switch, Amy says, is it a way to stop this? Yes, Strickland says, seeming uneasy with the conversation. It's a self-destruct button. What does the switch do? Self-destruct. That's why they haven't done it yet, because it is our eraser, it says. It destroys the entire facility and terminates any systems or experiments that are being conducted. It's also an emergency to shut down for interdimensional travel. It puts an event horizon around the facility. So like a black hole. What the hell is that? I ask, incredulous. It's the perimeter of a black hole, she replies, the boundary inside which nothing can escape, but not even light. There are two problems with hitting the switch. So the first problem is we'd all be killed, sucked into the black hole before we'd have time to evacuate. The second reason, Strickland whispers, suddenly quiet, is that Barksdale won't allow it. What? Amy asks. Why not? He wants to allow those things to flood the surface. Thousands of millions will die. Strickland puts her hands up in silence, silencing Amy. They both peer over to the far side of the room where Barksdale has his back turned. I know. He says he doesn't care. He says he'll be happy to get rid of the oversight so he can continue his work. The oversight, Amy almost screams, regaining control of her voice when Strickland gives her another look of warning. You mean our government, I ask? He's aware that this could disrupt even top our government, and he doesn't care. Strickland sighs. Barksdale is, well, he's off the range right now. He's gone rogue and he's armed. This comment makes me look towards the handgun I brought in with me. I nearly forgotten it in the last few moments. Barksdale has his back turned. Take it into my hands and slide it behind me just in time to, as Barksdale walks over from the back of the room to our side of the chamber. He gives Strickland a suspicious look before speaking to her. Is the civilian going to survive? He asks. Yes, he's stitched up and good to go, Strickland replies. That's great news, Barksdale says. I'm sitting right here, I say sarcastically. You can actually speak to me, you know. Amy, it's quite nice to see that you have survived, he says. Were there any other survivors? The aloof way of this asshole is talking to us is getting under my skin. A guy named Marcus that works on the first level from IT, Amy says, that's all I know for sure. Marcus Papscott, Barksdale says, where is he? We're not sure, I say. He was separated from us. Oh, Barksdale replies, clearly taken aback by my stern reply. That's unfortunate. Barksdale seems to think about something and then looks directly at me. You're with the logging crew, aren't you? Remind me, how did you get in here again? Ugh, my throat is getting dry from all the reading. Let's see. We fell through a hole. That's true. Alright, we lost our primary power source when the experiment failed, Barksdale says. Experimental fit created those exotic matter pockets, that hole you fell into. And if there were enough of them, it may have opened a way into our facility. Depending on the power sources that were damaged, Barksdale continued, it could have also shut down the locking systems before backups kicked in. Everything is starting to make sense now from the very start. It had seemed peculiar that we'd been so easily able to walk into the place like this. Where's the rest of our crew? What caused the experiment to fail? Boink. Your crew, Barksdale asks. Frank and Joe, they're gone. Gone where? I ask, my voice trembling. Hearing him speak the names of my crew enrages me. They were annihilated by the antimatter pockets created during their failure. A bright ball of light in the aftermath. All you'd see would be a round hole in the ground. Barksdale says this like he's sharing yesterday's sports scores. I let my face crumble into my hands. I had suspected this all this time, and they were already dead. What caused the experiment to fail? The crew hit one of our main power lines. We aren't sure exactly how, but we know that's what did it. Trying to blame this all on me, I roar. The timing was unfortunate, Barksdale says. So, Amy asks, what do we do now? Now it's time to continue our work, Barksdale says calmly, turning away for the instruments on the near wall. Why would you put a power cable, a power line, that far up into the surface when it's underground? See, I would say that this is a stupid part of the story that, you know, they just made it so this happens. But this is a government-funded facility, so our government has done stupid shit. Made stupid decisions. Alright. Now it's time to continue our work. Should I keep quiet or... He's already on edge. I don't want to provoke him. This guy sounds like a complete lunatic, but he's a lunatic that's accustomed to power and armed with some type of advanced weaponry. So I keep my intentions unspoken, assuming Barksdale is used to going unchallenged by people he considers beneath him. He certainly seems like that type. I want to continue my work, Barksdale muses. Other researchers will eventually discover what we have, sure. But I want it to be me. This is my laboratory. These are my experiments. The work I've led here will earn me my place in history. Quite frankly, I don't need to explain it to you. Up on the surface, they'll struggle to defend themselves since they don't know what they're dealing with. I have the necessary weapons. After a few months, who knows, maybe I'll decide the world is ready for me to help them, and we'll go from there. He turns it back to us, and as he says this, walking to the far side of the chamber like we're some kind of distraction. Amy takes this opportunity to whisper to us. You need to hit that switch, she says. It's the only option. What he's saying is murder, treason, genocide. She looks over to Strickland for support, trailing off, but Strickland looks at the ground. Clearly torn, she won't look anyone in the eye and makes an effort not to look at Barksdale. He seems distracted with whatever instruments he's studying on the far side of the room. The dreamlike quality I experienced earlier is wearing off. The painkillers seem to be losing their edge. Strickland finally whispers in response, even if we decide that we want to hit the switch, Barksdale won't allow us. You can figure something out, right? Maybe you guys could make a break for it, Strickland whispers. Where's the switch located, Amy asks. There's an elevator out in the hangar, Strickland says. Take it to the basement. The switch is at the end of a long tunnel. Strickland never finishes. Two things happen at once as she speaks, her mouth stopping in mid-sentence. First a loud booming noise rings out, and then the top of her head seems to explode. He shot her! Amy screams out in surprise, and I jump back in the shock of Strickland's body collapses beside me. Behind her, fallen body, Barksdale is holding his experimental rifle, and now he's pointing it at us. He just shot her! He just killed her right there! What the hell? I wonder if Barksdale is even crazier than Marcus. Probably! He just shot a woman that worked for him to keep her quiet. Surely he won't have an issue with killing me. Now, Barksdale yells. No more whispering, no secrets. You two will stay in here and get away from that door. If anyone whispers one more thing, I'll blow your heads off. My mind is racing to figure out a way to get through the secured door and into the hangar. Oh, sorry. Beyond that, of course, there was the failsafe switch. Insult him or make a distraction? No, let's make a distraction. Trying this to be a good actor as I wobble onto my feet a bit. I stop, start forward again, and then wobble some more. Amy's apparently catching on because she is at my side in a second. She looks over at Barksdale and says, he's lost a lot of blood. Let me check his wounds really quick. After he dared to talk to me like that, he's been through a lot, she argues. He's clearly delusional. You can check him back here, Barksdale says. You have 30 seconds to get away from that door, or I will show you my acting skills and actually stumble onto a knee. I make a show of trying to get to my feet and stand still for a moment. I'm okay, I say. I'm okay, I think I... As quickly as I can, I raise my gun and fire. I don't even take aim. I just fire at Barksdale's general direction. He takes off running as my shot misses wide. He runs for cover to the back of the room. That's all I need. Amy also fires a shot to keep him under cover. As we head for the door, Amy pushes a button. The door swings open. Barksdale will be on us in a second, so we dash out into the hangar, ready to defend ourselves. Whew! I never really insulted him, though, or talked to him in a disrespectful... Ooh. Amy and I run as fast as we can through the rows of barrels. Barksdale comes charging out of the chamber almost immediately. As he steps into the hangar floor, he starts shooting. The shot sends a jolt of fear through me as I wait for the bullet to end my life. We need to get to the elevator on the far side of the room, Amy tells me. It leads down below to the switch. If we sprint, he's the thing is, he's a fucking trained guy. He's a trained shooter, so these are both really bad decisions, because if we sprint, he might be able to shoot us in the leg or something. If we go try to fend him off, he might be able to shoot at us. And the thing is, we're near the barrels. We need to fend him off, though, because if we sprint, then he could shoot the barrels. Lean out from the cover of the barrels and take several shots at Barksdale. He steps back into the isolation chamber, which gives me a sense of victory. But then I realize he may just be reloading whatever high-powered weapon he has. We need to move, I say. Agreed, Amy says. We both take off at a full sprint for the other side of the hangar. Somehow I make it through the rows of barrels and get to the elevator entrance. I turn back to allow Amy to enter first, but she isn't there. I look back to the barrels and see that she has fallen about halfway down the row. She doesn't appear to be hurt, but she is paralyzed with fear, sitting motionless as Barksdale peppers the area with gunfire. We need to shoot at Barksdale. Run back and give her cover! So I step out into the open and head back for Amy, but Barksdale gunfire pins me back into the elevator entrance with a loud bang. Shit! We should have shot! Apparently he's reloaded that weapon of his. As sparks fly inches from my face, I realize that I have to help her from here. I then remember the contents of the barrels of one color has highly flammable fuel that contains liquid nitrogen. And I'm pretty sure liquid nitrogen is almost harmless unless you have direct contact. One of those barrels gets shot and the liquid nitrogen spills out. I'm fairly positive it will simply evaporate. I could create a cover for... Shit, what was the color of the barrel? Like a smoke cloud. Ah, hell, but which is the barrel's liquid nitrogen? Strickland told us, but I can't remember. Remember quickly, Barksdale was going to get careless with the shooting and we could all die. Which one was it? I don't remember. Oh no! Oh no! I don't remember. I should have paid attention. I think it was the yellow barrels. Yeah. Shoot the yellow barrel. Facing those that have liquid nitrogen in them. I gave myself a single moment to second guess myself. I aimed the one and pulled the trigger. There's a pitting noise followed by a hiss. A stream of liquid nitrogen spills out as it begins to evaporate immediately. He looks around for a moment, clearly baffled, but then figures out what I've done. She hits the ground right away, and for a moment I lose sight of her in that cloud of mist. Bandit Barksdale starts to fire, apparently not caring if it happens to hit one of the barrels with the fuel in it. Moments later, I see Amy's shape emerge from the mist. There's a terrifying second where she's out of the mist and in the exposed space between the barrels and the protection offered by the elevator's interior. Barksdale gets off 2 shots, but the nitrogen mist has obscured his vision too much for him to get a proper aim. However, one of them nicks Amy's legs, sending her tumbling just before she reaches the entryway to the elevator. We dash out, lift her up, then we both hobble over to the elevator behind the cover of the mist. Thanks. Thank God you remember which barrel was which, she says. Yeah! I reach out and press the call button on the elevator. We both step inside and close the doors. It's a service elevator made of wood and metal, like something from a coal mine. We step inside and the doors close. The motors on the elevator sound like dying dogs. As the elevator slides down, the light from the flames gives way to complete darkness. Whew, yeah, good thing I remembered, huh, Amy? Hey guys, sorry I have to cut it there, but this episode went on way longer than I thought it would. So, thank you everybody so much for watching. If you liked this video, hack that like button. While you're at it, hack that subscribe button for more videos. Hit that bell to be notified about future videos as well. Comment down below and let me know what you think about this series in general, or how I'm doing, or how you're doing. And just share it with a friend, because I need more people to watch my stuff. If you're interested in more videos, they should be around here somewhere. And if you're interested in my channel, there should be a link down here somewhere. So I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.